Okay, Rabbi Sai. So next week is Lag BaOmer, which is my anniversary day. To my wife, that means. And I guess half of Klal Yisrael gets married on Lag BaOmer. That's just the way it goes usually. And I'm sure I may not be here. I'm sure you're all going to be in Meron or somewhere. So I'm not exactly sure what's going to be next week. If it's going to be a shir or not, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe yes, maybe no. Peter the May. Oh, Wednesday. Wednesday is Lag BaOmer.
No, it's Monday night, Tuesday.
Monday night, Tuesday?
Yeah.
Are you not Tuesday night, Wednesday?
Just let me know.
Okay, whatever it is, we're going to figure it out by next week. With I better get my anniversary date. Forgot it last year, I got in trouble. So we got to get it right this birthday. My anniversary.
Oh.
I said it was Wednesday.
It's not. It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday? Oh, okay, great. So, even more of a reason for us to, so I want to talk a little bit about Lag BaOmer. Now, this year is going to be extremely difficult for me to give over. I really hesitant about doing this. But like the Gemara says, the Gemara says sometimes you can pass like Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. We usually don't pass like Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, but you can pass like him b'shat hatchak. So a lot of times when people go up and they have a problem, so they say Reb Shimon b'shat hatchak, meaning they'll go to Meron and they'll start davening when they're in a difficult situation. That's the joke. Hopefully this is going to work out. As you'll see, you can figure Lag BaOmer can be so complicated. You can see this is very complicated. And we're going to do the best we can. So what we're going to talk about is, we know in Klal Yisrael there are different minhagim about the Avelis. There are basically 8 or 9 different minhagim. We're going to talk about 5 of them that are more prevalent. And what we're going to deal with is, can you change your minhag from year to year, right? Let's say for your whole life you've been doing the Avelis from after Pesach to Lag BaOmer, but then your daughter got engaged, and you want to make the chasana before Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Can you change it? For the last 20 years you've been doing one minhag, can you change it to a different minhag? This is going to be the issue at hand. Okay? So before a little background, we have to know where this whole source of this Avelis is, right? Everyone gets confused, the Sfiras HaOmer, which is the mitzvah d'oraisa or rabbinical mitzvah to count. The Avelis has absolutely nothing to do with Sfiras HaOmer ostensibly. I mean, you can say philosophically they have to do with each other, but ostensibly the Avelis has absolutely nothing to do with Sfiras HaOmer. Okay, so where does it come from, this whole Avelis business? No haircuts, no music, no dancing. Where does it come from? So the famous Gemara, the Gemara says, you should have children when you're young, and you should have children when you're old. The Bakez Zara Zarecha La'arv Al Tanach Yotcha. And then the Gemara says you should have Talmidim when you're young, and you should have Talmidim when you're old. Right? And the Gemara gives an example, gives an adducement, a proof to this. Because we know Rabbi Kiva had 12,000 zugos, 24,000 Talmidim. And they all died in the same period. Shaloi Nagu covers those there. And the world was desolate. Right? And Rabbi Kiva went to our rabbis in the south, and he got a new cohort, a new contingency of students. Who are those? The new students? Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Ben Shmuel. When did they die? Mi Pesach v'ad Aseres. When did the 24,000 Talmidim die? Mi Pesach v'ad Aseres. This is the end of any mention of the story. There's only one place in Shach. This is it. If you notice, it just says that they died from Pesach v'ad Aseres. It doesn't say, and hence you should not go to weddings. And it doesn't say, and hence there are no haircuts. And hence even not a cappella music. No, it doesn't say anything about that in the Gemara. Nothing. It just says a story. 24,000 Talmidim died between Pesach and Aseres. That's all it says. If you open up a Rambam, and it doesn't say one word about Avelis, but about this thing that we do Avelis. The Rambam doesn't mention one word. I'm not sure if the Rush does. I think he doesn't. The Rif for sure doesn't. No one in the big three poskim don't mention a word about this. Taking a haircut. So where does this come from? Where does it come from? So the Torah brings it down, and they bring it down from the Geonim. The first time that any of this is mentioned is the Geonim, which is post Gemara. And again, the Rambam and the Rif does not bring this down at all. What?
Do they ever bring down the
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. They don't bring it down. And it's really baffling, I'll be honest. I am just totally baffled by this. Because the first time it's mentioned is by Naharoi Goin, and someone asked him a question. We don't get married between Pesach and Shavuot. Is that a deraisa? And if we do get married, is it automatically annulled? I mean, the person who asked the question had absolutely no idea where this was coming from, why they don't get married, and the Goyin answered back, no, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's just a minig to commemorate, to memorialize the students of Rabbi Kiva. This is our first writings about this. So, obviously this minig was prevalent even in the times of the Gaonim. So, it's like, where did it start from? Where did it start? Where did all this start from? I have no idea. But somehow or other, from after the Gemara's time, this minig evolved. That we keep, so it's a very low level, if you think about it, it's really like a low level, it's like saying slichus or kinnis, all these things that I mentioned in the Gemara. So it's just a minig, and that's what the Torah brings down. Okay. Now, that's step 101. That's step one. Remember, this whole thing is not a Gemara. It's first time in Gaonim, and it's a minig. Fine. Step 2. If you look at the Gemara itself just says they died between Pesach and Atzeres. It doesn't give the exact date. What does it mean when it says that Talmidim died between Pesach and Atzeres? It means they died all 49 days? Maybe it means they died 20 days? Just between Pesach and Atzeres? It's not very, very clear when they actually died. And you're going to say, who cares? Well, we're going to see that this makes a major, major halakhic difference. The major halakhic difference. Okay. So let's start. We have the charts here. And like I said, it's going to be a little bit difficult to go through. But we're going to go through 5 minhagim of what the days of Avelis, and they're going to be bifurcated. They're going to be separated, and we're going to realize 2 minhagim have to do with one narrative, and the other 3 minhagim have to do with a different narrative. Meaning, they're going to be different. There's going to be 2 major narratives of what happened to Rabbi Kiva students, and based on these 2 narratives, the 5 minhagim became to be, but 3 of them are based on one narrative, and 2 of them are based on a different narrative. Okay? Look at the chart. According to chart 1, look at chart 1, which is, this is the days they died. According to, you're going to have to bear with me. We'll put it all together. It's not that complicated. It's just once you hear it, it's going to take a while to get through it, but it's not that complicated. According to Tosfos, the students died 33 days. Those were the days they died. When the Gemara says between Pesach and Atzeres, they died 33 days. So where did the number 33 days come from? Because when the Gemara says they died between Pesach and Atzeres, it means all the days besides the day that there's no Tachnun. Besides the day that there are no Tachnun, those days they died. So if you look at the chart, a very simple chart, I showed you exactly how it's 33 days. Because on Pesach you don't say Tachnun, obviously. On Shabbos you don't say Tachnun. The 3 days of Rosh Chodesh you don't say Tachnun. That's 13 days. So 13 days out of the 49 they didn't die. 16 days. That's 16 days. 16 days, right? 16 days they didn't die. 6 of Shabbos, 7 of Pesach, 3 of Rosh Chodesh. Those are the days you don't say Tachanun. I know we don't say Tachanun on Erev Rosh Chodesh, but the main day, and Erev Shu, the main days that you don't say Tachanun, the main days that you don't say Tachanun. The main days you don't say Tachanun are 16. So here's a chart. They died exactly 33 days. This is Tosfos' story. Now, what I want you to pay attention, they died on Lag BaOmer. This is going to be crucial to the Shir. Crucial to the Shir to see what happened on Lag BaOmer. According to this, they died on Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer was a regular day. A regular day of death and carnage. It was not a happy day. They died on Lag BaOmer. Okay, that's narrative number 1. Narrative number 2, which is based on the Medrash. We don't know how many days they died. It is irrelevant how many days they died. It is irrelevant. We know they stopped dying on Lamed Daled BaOmer or Lamed Gimel BaOmer. We'll see about that in a minute. This is a crucial difference. According to the Medrash, it doesn't make we don't really know how many days they died. It could have been, as you can see, it could have been 27 days. It could have been 23 days. Maybe they didn't die on Shabbos. It could be they died all these days, and then it would be 34 days or 33 days. It's irrelevant according to the Medrash. What is relevant is the day that they stopped dying. They stopped dying, we'll see soon, on either Lamed Daled BaOmer or Lamed Gimel BaOmer. Okay? So, according to the first narrative, which is Tosfos, they died 33 days. According to the second narrative, it's irrelevant how many days they died. What is relevant is that they stopped dying on Lamed Daled BaOmer. Okay? These are the only narratives that you're going to need. From these 2 stories, end up 5 minhagim. How is that? Let's go through it. The Mechaber, the Beis Yosef, if you open up, I know he's Sephardi, Lag BaOmer does not exist. He doesn't mention Lag BaOmer. He's not interested in Lag BaOmer. It never happened Lag BaOmer. Nothing happens on Lag BaOmer. According to the Mechaber, we're going to now refer to the next chart. Minig 1, the Beit Yosef. We keep Avelis up until Lamed Daled BaOmer. Lamed Daled BaOmer. Because according to the Mechaber, we are going according to the Medrash, and the Medrash said they stopped dying on Lamed Daled BaOmer, and that's what we do. We go up to Lamed Daled BaOmer. They actually died a little bit of Lamed Daled BaOmer, so really you should have kept the whole Lamed up until Lamed Daled BaOmer, but we say mixes Yom Kippur. We know we have a concept by Avelis that if you do only part of the day, just the night and a little bit of day, it's considered like you did the whole day. So, let's get it straight. Let's put the 2 together. This is the 2 narratives. According to the Mechaber, they stopped dying on Lamed Daled BaOmer. It's irrelevant how many days they died. They stopped dying on Lamed Daled BaOmer, and therefore, we stop our Avelis on Lamed Daled BaOmer. Very simple. How many days of Avelis are there actually according to the Beit Yosef? Probably 27. We're not going to count Pesach. Pesach, we don't do any Avelis. Maybe we don't count Shabbos either. Maybe we do. It's irrelevant. The point is it's irrelevant. According to the Beit Yosef, they stopped dying on Lamed Daled BaOmer, and therefore we also stopped the Avelis of Lamed Daled BaOmer. It is irrelevant to the number of days. Now, the Ramah is the same exact thing. That is irrelevant the number of days. He just holds exactly like the Mechaber. He just holds that they actually stopped dying on Lag BaOmer. This is the Gra's interpretation of the Ramah. Because the Medrash says they stopped dying 15 days before Shavuos. So it's hard to know what that means. It means they didn't die at all on that day, or it means they died a little bit on that day. The Mechaber learns they actually died a little bit on that day, which is Lamed Daled. The Ramah learns that they didn't die at all on that day, meaning they only died on Lag BaOmer. It's a question of a day. So, both according to the Minig 1 and Minig 2, it is irrelevant how many days of Avelis we keep. We don't even know what it is. It could be 26, 27. Again, do we count Shabbos or not? It's not clear. Do we count Pesach for sure or not? Oh. But the only difference is, at least according to the Ramah, we understand what Lag BaOmer is about. We understand what Lag BaOmer is about. They stopped dying on Lag BaOmer. Now, between me and you, I'm a little bit, I still don't understand. So they stopped dying on Lag BaOmer, but they died a little bit on Lag BaOmer. They did die a little bit on Lag BaOmer. So I don't really understand why we celebrate then. But it seems that on Lag BaOmer they died a little bit, and there was some sign from heaven that that's it, it's over. So on Lag BaOmer is the day they stopped dying according to the Ramah, and that's why the Ramah says no tachnun and a little bit of celebration. Nothing to do with Reb Shimon. Nothing to do with Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, nothing to do with Meron, none of that. So let's get it straight. According to Mechaber, nothing happened like BaOmer. There's tachnun, no simcha, no nothing. Because nothing happened like BaOmer. Nothing happened like BaOmer. Everything happened on Lamed Daled BaOmer, and we do Avelis up until Lamed Daled BaOmer. How many days? It's irrelevant how you put the number of days. The point is, they stopped dying on Lamed Daled BaOmer, we stop Avelis on Lamed Daled BaOmer. Why not the whole Lamed Daled BaOmer? Because mixes Yom Kippur. You always the last day of Avelis to do the last day. According to the Ramah, same thing. They stopped dying on Lag BaOmer. Really, we should do Avelis on Lag BaOmer too, but we say mixes Yom Kippur. We always count the last day as a whole day, and there's a little bit of a celebration because they actually stopped dying on Lag BaOmer. Okay? This is going to be group number 1. Group number 1 of Minhagim is based on the narrative of the Medrash when they stop dying, and the number of days of Avelis are irrelevant. Oh.
Shouldn't you also be at the night of Lamed Gimel? Shouldn't you also be still mourning?
Yes, you do. That's halacha. You do. You can't take a haircut until Lamed Gimel in the morning. Exactly. You can't take a haircut until Lamed Gimel in the morning. On the contrary, like I said, I'm a little bit surprised. Like, what are we so happy about? They stopped. They did die on that day. What are we so happy about? But the Gemara brings down, and the Gemara reminiscent to Tubav. Why we're happy? Because on Tubav the same thing. They knew that Klal Yisrael stopped dying in the Midbar. But that's what it is. Okay. And so at least according to the Ramah, which is we're going to call Minig 2, we have an idea of what Lag BaOmer is about. Okay? Fine. Now. The other 3 Minhagim, pay attention. The other 3 Minhagim have nothing to do with Lag BaOmer. Zero, zippo, nothing. Pay attention. According to the other 3 Minhagim, we're going with the Tosfos. You see Tosfos? We said, according to Tosfos, they died 33 days. They didn't die the days of Tachnun. They died on Lag BaOmer. Nothing happened on Lag BaOmer. They died on Lag BaOmer, according to Tosfos. So we keep 33 days because they died 33 days. Okay? So, we have the Minig Ashkenazim 3, 4, 5. All of these Minhagim are to do 33 days of Avelis. I want to make this clear. According to Minig 1 and 2, which is one section, it has nothing to do with 33 days. Zero to do with 33 days. According to 3, 4, 5, it's all about 33 days. So how do we get 33 days? So the most normal minig, or the most prevalent minig, is we start from the day after Rosh Chodesh Iyar. We start from the day after Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and basically you go straight 33 days. If you start from Rosh Chodesh Iyar up until Shavuos, you have 33 days. This is a very prevalent minig. You start from the Beis Iyar, you go straight to Shavuos. Straight to Shavuos. Which means if you go with this minig, you could do as many weddings as you want up until Rosh Chodesh Iyar, including Rosh Chodesh Iyar. The big problem is, and this is where it's going to be. So what does Lag BaOmer got to do with anything? What does Lag BaOmer got to do with anything then? They died on Lag BaOmer. We're going straight. Why on Lag BaOmer do we get a dispensation? There's absolutely no rhyme or reason. If you learn the narrative, like Medrash, the Medrash, they stopped dying on Lag BaOmer, according to at least one version. But according to the narrative of Tosfos, nothing happened like BaOmer. They died. It's just they died 33 days, and that's it. And part of the 33 days was also Lag BaOmer. Oh. So, what are the other 3 minhagim? The other 2 minhagim? Number 4 is the Magen Avraham brings down. It's basically the same thing. It's 33 days, but we actually do start from Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and you take off the last 3 days because we don't want to do Avelis 3 days before Shavuos, because it's the Shosh Tzimei Bala. So basically, instead of going all the way to Shavuos, you go up until 3 days before Shavuos, and you counterbalance it by keeping 2 days of Rosh Chodesh Iyar. So you see, this is 3 and 4. They're basically the same. 3 doesn't have the Rosh Chodesh Iyar, so they have to go all the way to here. 4 has Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and therefore they get a little dispensation over here. They get these days off, right? It's just the removing of displacing of 2 days. Now, again, according to this, we give Lag BaOmer off. You need 33 days, but Lag BaOmer is getting a half day. You get a half day for Lag BaOmer. Why in the world do you get a half day for Lag BaOmer? Absolutely nothing happened on Lag BaOmer. Absolutely nothing. They died on Lag BaOmer. Nothing happened on Lag BaOmer. Minhag number 5 is also 33 days. You do the first week after Pesach. They give off Rosh Chodesh. You get off Lag BaOmer again, and you get off from Rosh Chodesh Sivan. That's minhag number 5. This also people do. People do this too. The first week after Pesach, Rosh Chodesh is off, and from Rosh Chodesh Sivan and on, you're off. On the bottom of the sheets, I wrote a little note to make it. I can't go through all exactly, but what exactly start each one. But the point is, according to minhag 3, 4, and 5, we are keeping 33 days of Avelis. Lag BaOmer is considered a day because you do it half day. You do it half day. That's considered a day. According to minhag 1 and 2, it has nothing to do with 33 days. Absolutely nothing to do with 33 days. We just stop when they stop dying. Now, if someone's going to stop you, okay, according to the minhag Ashkenaz, that the narrative is like the Medrash. The narrative is like Tosfos, which is that they actually died on Lag BaOmer. Why in the world? The narrative is like Tosfos, that they actually died on Lag BaOmer. So why do we give Lag BaOmer off? No one knows an answer. I mean, we know the answer. We know the answer. It's because of Reb Shimon. There's no other answer possible. Right? There's no other answer. But if you look at the Mefarshim, they're like, the Pri Megadim says, there must be some hidden reason that we don't know about. He obviously knew about Reb Shimon. The point is, what I want to bring out here is, there are 5 minhagim. 5 minhagim. Right? Only one of them is going with the fact that they stopped dying on Lag BaOmer. That's the Ramah. According to the Mechaber, Lag BaOmer doesn't exist. It never happened. According to the other 3, they didn't stop dying on Lag BaOmer. They actually continued dying. So why in the world do we give Lag BaOmer off? We don't even give it off. It's not like we give it off. We count it as a day, but it's a half day. The reason must be because of Reb Shimon. Okay? Is this clear? Good. So So again, let's point it out to you. 3, 4, 5, the Ashkenazi minig is 33 days, 33 days, 33 days. It's just a question of where you put the 33 days. Lag BaOmer is counted as one of the 33 days, except for minig number 5. It's a little complicated. Minig number 5 has enough days that doesn't even have to count Lag BaOmer. It could be according to minig number 5, you actually could take haircuts from night, because you don't really need Lag BaOmer according to minig number 5. But basically, minig number, you can look at the charts, 3, 4, 5. 33 days of Eilis, we don't know why Lag BaOmer is given a dispensation. Again, when I say dispensation, it is counted. It's just a half day. According to minig 1 and 2, the reason why, at least according to minig 2, it's not 33 days. It's not 33 days. It's whatever amount of days. We just stop at Lamed Dal, Lamed Gimel, that's when they start to die. Now, the point that I want to bring out of here is, this is a crucial point. According to all these numbers that I just explained to you, no one holds that we're counting the Avelis from Pesach. You know Chol Hamoed, we start Sphere the second day of the Pesach. Does the Avelis start then? I don't think so. We listen to music. It is true we don't take haircuts, but we don't take haircuts for a side reason.
Nice.
It has nothing to do with right? So according to all of these equations, all of them, none of the Avelis starts on Chol Hamoed. So you can listen to music, no problem, right? The Chiddush is, according to the ones that need 33 days, we will count the Shabbos. That's the Chiddush. We are going to be counting the Shabbosim as Avelis, which makes a lot of sense, because if you know, when someone dies, God forbid, and you're in Shiva, we do count the Shabbos, but we never count Yom Tovim as part of Avelis. It makes sense that we should count Shabbos as part of Avelis. So if you look at 3, 4, and 5, you have 33 days, and we are counting Shabbos. We are counting Shabbos. We're not counting Pesach, but we are counting Shabbos. And like I said, Lag BaOmer mysteriously gets off the hook. If you look at minig 1 and 2, it's irrelevant minig 1 and 2 how many days. It's all irrelevant. Minig 1 and 2, it doesn't make a difference how many days. You don't need 33 days. So we don't got to count Shabbos. We could count Shabbos. It's irrelevant. We just stop when they stopped dying. Okay, now. So what's the kicker here? The kicker is that's where Moshe's big psak was. Where Moshe's big psak was, since we're saying minig 1 and 2 is based on one story, and minig 3, 4, and 5 is based on a different story, you could change up between 3, 4, and 5. 1 year you could do like 3. 1 year you could do like 4. 1 year you could do like 5. Those you could change up. And maybe minig 1 and 2, you could also change up. There would be absolutely no reason to do that. But in principle, minig 1 and 2, you could also change up. Why? Because those are two separate narratives. But you can't change up if you're number 2, which is what most people are, that they go to Lag BaOmer. You can't change and say, oh, next year I'll do like 3 and 4 and 5, and I'll make a wedding before Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Right? Right. It's much better. So all the years I was doing like the Mechaber Zarma, so I can't make a wedding here. That's 1 and 2. All of a sudden I'll say, oh, I need to make a wedding. My daughter got engaged. Let me make a wedding this week. I'll change my minig. Says Reb Moshe, emphatically, with a caveat, that you cannot change between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. But he explains it so beautifully. Because 3, 4, and 5 is based on a different story. 3, 4, and 5 story is they died 33 days. And they actually died on Lag BaOmer. They just didn't die the days that they were talking about. 1 and 2 is a different story. They stopped dying on Lag BaOmer. They didn't die 33 days, it's irrelevant. It's a whole different story. It's a whole different story, and it's a whole different, the numbers are different. According to minig 1 and 2, we're not keeping 33 days. We're keeping 26 days, 25. It's irrelevant what the days are. And according to minig 1 and 2, they stopped dying on Lag BaOmer. When they start dying, it's irrelevant. Maybe they did by Pesach, maybe they didn't, it's not clear. So since the narrative is so different, and the numbers are so different, you can't change them. 3, 4, and 5, it's all the same. It's a question of 33 days. They died 33 days. We keep 33 days. It's just a question which 33 days you do. Like we said, you could play around with the 33 days. You could do not have Rosh Chodesh Iyar and then get a dispensation next to Shavuos. You could have Rosh Chodesh Iyar and then don't get the dispensation. Those you could change around with. The Kitzur, that's a Chizar Moshe. Between 1 and 2 you could change amongst itself. 3, 4, 5 you can change. You can't change between each other. Okay? Now, there is another computation, a Bach, which I'm not going to do right now. But I wrote it down on the sheet, but it's too complicated. So basically, this is Moshe's Psaktin. Okay? So if you are a Lag BaOmer guy, you can't all of a sudden start next year, decide I'll do like Minig 3, 4, 5, and start doing the Chasana before Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Now, so what I want to put in perspective, what I want to do is put it in perspective. This is an important point. It comes out, if you think about it, out of all the Minhagim, the 5 Minhagim, only Minig 2, Lag BaOmer makes sense. Because only Minig 2 is that they stop dying on Lag BaOmer. All the other Minhagim, Lag BaOmer has nothing to do with them stopping dying. All the other Minhagim, it has to do with Reb Shimon. That we don't say Tachnun because it's the yard site of Reb Shimon. Oh. Right now, on this, we're going to look at 2 tshuvas, one from the Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer goes to town. And he says, I have no idea what is going on in Lag BaOmer. I have no idea what they're celebrating. And he says, he makes a lot of poetic references. He says, I would be like Ben Dudasoy. There's a Gemara, Ben Dudasoy argued with everyone else, so he basically went to seclusion. The Chassam Sofer, if it was up to me, when it comes to Lag BaOmer, I will put myself in seclusion. Because absolutely nothing happened on Lag BaOmer. He says, according to one minig of the Ram, according to one narrative, one narrative of the story, they stopped dying on Lag BaOmer. But okay, that's not, we don't find a tuba of that the whole town goes crazy and there's like a whole huge party and everyone goes nuts. So he doesn't know what's going on. There was no nest that happened, and therefore he thinks yes, don't say Tachnun, no Tainus, that he agrees. No Tachnun, no Tainus, because according to one narrative, maybe they stopped dying on Lag BaOmer, but that's it. That's the most he's going to do. But to make a big sudas, big parties, and Meron, my high, what happened? What nest happened? Only to the nest, and there's no nest that happened. Then he has the whole shtickle, maybe the mun started falling on Lag BaOmer. Peter Zemay, he says he's not happy with the whole. Chassam Sofer didn't live 10,000 years ago. He lived 150. He knew what was going on, and he was not happy about it, of the whole Lag BaOmer thing. Okay. Now there's a famous sefer from the Shem Aryeh, and he was a rav in Lita. His name is Aryeh Leibish Balchavar, something like that. Balchavar. And he has a very, very funny tshuva here. It's very, very poetic. It's beautiful, he writes. And he's railing against the Hasidim. He says there, B'yama B'yama Zmanazeh, Hachelu B'nei Amenu, in Volozhin and Ukraine. We got to mention Ukraine. That what? That on the yard side of a dad, a yard side of a parent, they would make big, big celebrations and parties. By the Rebbes, if you know, on the yard side of a predecessor of a previous Rebbe, they have a yard side tish against a whole party. First he says, minig is something very important, and if you open up the Shulchan Aruch says you're supposed to fast when you're on the yard side of your parents. So he says, how are you guys making a huge party and a big celebration when you're supposed to fast? So he said, he asked the Hasidim, what's going on? He didn't say Hasidim, but he says, what? The Hasidim get all affronted. So what do you mean? What happened on Lag BaOmer, says the Hasidim? It's a yard side of Shimon. You see, when it's a yard side of a tzaddik, you celebrate, you make a big party. So the Hasidim bring a raya from Lag BaOmer that any time a Rebbe dies, you're supposed to make a big party. Anytime a tzaddik dies, you have to make a big party. That's the Chasidim's rayas. Okay? So he bemoans the fact, what developed was, every single kid would make a big party for their father. And that's what developed the Hasidic circles. Why? Because if you're not going to make a party and you're going to do it tiniest, like it says in Shulchan Aruch, you're basically saying your father's not a tzaddik. So it developed that every single chassid would make a party for his father. Because if he didn't make a party for his father's yard side, that would be an attestment that his father was a rasha. You can't do that. So he's making fun of the. So everyone's like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. It comes out new. The Rebbe's like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. Now everyone's like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai to do a yard side party for everyone. I have to like parties better than fasting. I'm just reporting. I have absolutely no day here, no leadings here. This is what he's bemoaning. So they said back to him, no. Bottom line is, you see, you make a big party for Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. So you see that when a tzaddik dies, you make a big party, and that's what you do. Okay, and your question that should we consider everyone a tzaddik or not is a different issue. So he says over here, he doesn't understand. He opens up a Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says you're supposed to fast when Moshe Rabbeinu died, the fast of Moshe Rabbeinu. When Aaron died, you make the fast day in the Shulchan Aruch. When Miriam died, the fast day. They were big. You figure that Aaron and Moshe and Miriam, they're pretty big hamshah. You know, they're pretty big people. You figure they're just as big as Shimon Bar Yochai. You figured. So he doesn't know what's going on over here. And he says, the Zohar says it was Yom Hilula. That's the famous Zohar, Yom Hilula. Yom Hilula, just doesn't mean that it was a party. Yom Elul just means it was a day of praisement, meaning they eulogize Shimon Bar Yochai. And he brings proof from the Zohar that everyone was crying actually. So he's trying to figure out what's going on over here with Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. He's going to have to, he doesn't want to say, like the Chassam Sofer. I could think Kaka doesn't want to say. The Chassam Sofer said, the whole thing is crazy. The whole thing with Meron is crazy. The whole, not to go up to Meron, but all the celebration is crazy. He's not willing to say that the whole world is crazy. That much he's not willing to do. But he's going to try to answer up, so why do we celebrate Reb Shimon? And why is it wrong to then say we should all celebrate for any tzaddik or for any rebbe or that's nifter? He goes through a whole thing here, and basically he says, he brings the Chassam Sofer, and he says it must be that no, we are celebrating a nes. That the reason why Lag BaOmer we celebrate is not celebrate the fact that Reb Shimon died. That is not such a happy thing. Like we would think it's not happy that someone died, right? Right? That's not what we're celebrating. And I know the Chassidim say that day the Zohar was revealed, whatever parts of the Zohar, the Itra was revealed. I know, but he's not going there. So what are we celebrating? We're celebrating the fact that there was a nes. What nes? That he had a natural death. Because we all know the famous Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Lamed Gimel, right? We all know the famous Gemara in Shabbos that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai got in trouble with the Romans because he sort of made a sarcastic remark about them, and somehow the Romans heard about it. Rabbi Yehuda ben Gerim, by accident, somehow or other he accidentally got revealed through him, and he had to run away for 12 years. And we all know the story that they were there for 12 years, and they I always wondered for 12 years he ran away. He had books. What did he study for 12 years? You figure he didn't have books. He just chazed everything he knew, but he knew everything he knew. I don't know. But for 12 years he was in a cave. I assume he didn't have the Eitzer HaTorah, the Eitzer HaSfarim like I have. I don't know what he's doing at 12 years. What is he learning for 12 years? Pretty amazing. Anyway, 12 years he's there, and sure enough, we all know, after 12 years, Eliyahu Navi, you always have to, show up and say, okay, you can go out. They go out, they burn up everything because they see people actually working, they say, oh my gosh, they have to go back into the cave for another year, and Reb Shimon got a little bit mollified, got a little bit sedated, and Rabbi Lezer still was burning everything up until they saw an old man running with Hadassim, and they said, wow, what are you doing with Hadassim? They said, oh, it's for Shabbos. Why two? One for Shabbos, one for Zachar, and somehow other Rabbi Lezer was like, wow, that's great. And he loved the world again, That's the story. Bottom line is, in a nutshell, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was supposed to get killed. He was supposed to get killed. And we all know that Romans, when they want someone getting killed, it usually happens, right? You know from another religion. That when the Romans want someone to get killed, it happens. They get killed. And we also know that when the Romans used to kill someone, they had no natural, they usually were not buried. Actually, the whole medrash, how is Rabbi Kiva buried? The whole medrash that Elio got his body, a whole medrash, because you know Rabbi Kiva was killed by the Romans too. A whole medrash how Rabbi Kiva actually got buried in Caesarea, not in Caesarea. That's a different story. But usually when you get killed by Romans, you are not buried. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a walking dead man. He basically had no chance of survival. And through the great nisim, that he ran to the cave, God gave him a carob tree, he survived. So Lag BaOmer is celebrating the ness that he survived the evil Roman decree against him. So why Lag BaOmer? Because since we actually know he died a natural death that day, what day would you pick? Tuesday? You gotta pick a day, right? So they picked the day that he actually the day he actually died a natural death. And it's the day that he was buried we actually have a burial site to go to. So that, according to the Shem Aryeh, that is the ness that happened on Lag BaOmer. Not that he died. We're not happy about that. And not that Zohar was revealed, but we're celebrating the fact that he had a natural death and we have a burial site to go to. So, that's his take on what Lag BaOmer was about. Again, according to the 5 minhagim, only one of them have to say that they stopped dying on Lag BaOmer, the Talmidim Rekiva. According to the other minhagim, it has to do something with Reb Shimon. Something with Reb Shimon. It has to do something with Reb Shimon. What does it have to do with? He died that day? What's so great about that? The Zohar was revealed that day? You know, I don't want to get involved in the controversy. Where did the Zohar come from in the first place? But be it as it may, I mean, whatever the controversy is, if the Gra gave his stamp of approval on it, doesn't make a difference where it came from, right? And be it as it may, so according to the Shem Aryeh, so the Chassam Sofer says, I have no idea what's going on in Lag BaOmer. This whole thing sounds ridiculous to me. And I don't know, maybe not Tachnun, because according to one narrative, they stopped dying. But what's this whole party about? If Shimon died, what's so happy about that? So the Shem Aryeh is trying to find that there's a ness in the story of Shimon dying. What's the ness? The ness is that he died a natural death, and he survived all these years. That's the Shem Aryeh's take on Lag BaOmer. I just want to finish off. I have so many sheets over here already. Just want to finish off. According to the Chidah, his understanding of Lag BaOmer, again, it does say in the Zohar it's a Yom Hilula. But Yom Hilula usually means wedding. That's what it usually means. Some say Yom Hilula means the day that he died, and we got the Zohar. But the Chidah says that Yom Hilula means it's actually the day that he got his smicha. That's what we're celebrating. Because we know that the 24,000 students died. And on Lag BaOmer is the day that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai got his smicha from Rabbi Kiva. I don't know if it got it years later, whenever it happened. It could have been a couple years later. But that's what happened on Lag BaOmer, and that's what we're celebrating. Which again is not the greatest answer, so it's not a ness. According to the Shem Aryeh, at least we're celebrating a ness. So ness you make like a national holiday. But what?
Just him?
No, not just him. All the five. But we're trying to figure out what the word Yom Hilula means exactly in the Zohar. Last but not least, we all know, we end off with this, there is a minig on Lag BaOmer to take a haircut for the kids. And I always bothers me, my grandson hopefully is going to be having a upshare. And what do they got to do with Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the upsharing? It just works out that way. Lag BaOmer is the first time you can take a haircut. What's the connection between haircuts and Lag BaOmer and Reb Shimon Bar Yochai? Is there any connection? Is that random? It just happens to be that now people start taking haircuts, and there's a party, so you might as well make a haircut with the party. I mean, what does it got to do with anything? So one of the famous pshatim are that there's a direct connection between Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and haircuts. What does Reb Shimon Bar Yochai got to do with haircuts? Because there's a famous Gemara Me'ilah. I'm going to paraphrase. There was a time that there was a gezerah from who? The Romans. They're not getting a lot of the boo. They're not getting a lot of good advertisement over here today, right? So the Romans said, they made a gzeira, you can't keep Shabbos, you can't do bris milah, and you have to live with your wife when she's in nida. So that was obviously untenable. That was right. So they send who? Reb Reuben ben Istra. They send Reb Reuben ben Istra. You never heard of him? I mean, he's in the Gemara, and to countermand, to undo the decree. So what did Reb Reuben ben Istra do? He took a haircut. He got himself a coif. He got himself a hairstyle like the Goyim. Took off his payas, and he infiltrated into the ranks of the Romans and said, and they all thought that he was a Roman senator or some Roman aristocrat, and he said, tell me, boys, if you want your enemy to be rich or poor, well, what do you want your enemy to be, rich or poor? So all the Romans said, poor. So he said, so let's make the Jews work on Shabbos? It makes sense that they shouldn't work on Shabbos. Why are you telling the Jews to work on Shabbos? If you want to make the Jews poor, doesn't it make sense that they should not let them work on Shabbos? And the senator said, oh, you're right. Wow, we were pretty stupid about that one. Yeah, Jews keep Shabbos, yeah. They undid the decree. Then he said, let me ask you something, boys. If you want your enemies to be strong or weak, so the boys in the Senate said, yeah, we want them to be weak. So don't you think you should let them do the bris milah? That weakens them. So they said, oh, you're right. You're right. Jews, do the bris milah. And then they said, tell me something, boys. Do you want your enemies to be multiplicitous? You want them to be fruitful? Do you want them to have a lot of kids? They said, no, we don't want our enemies to have a lot of kids. So why are you telling the Jewish husbands to live with the wives all the time? You know? They said, oh, you're right. You're so right. Forget about it. Jewish husbands, stop living with your wives when they need this. Right? So he was able to undo, through sophisticated logic, he was able to undo the Romans' decrees. After a while, some Roman on the side said, wait a minute, this Reuven, Mr. Belay, they caught on. They said, let me see your necklace. They took out his necklace. It wasn't a cross. It was a Jewish star. They caught him. They caught Reuven ben Istra. They caught him. Even though he had the Goyish haircut, they caught him, and they undid what he undid. Basically, they reenacted all the decrees: no Shabbos, no bris, and and you have to live with your wife when she's neither. So they're like, oh no, we're back to square one. So they said, what are we going to do? They said, we're going to send him Shimon bar Yochai. He seems to be Meluma beneath him. He seems to have a good connection with God. He has a supernatural connection. Okay. So Shimon bar Yochai said, okay, I can't go alone. I need a lackey, right? I need someone to come with me. So they said, okay, Rabbi Lazar is going to go with you. Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Yossi will go with you. They'll go together. Rabbi Yossi said, no. No, don't take my son. Don't take my son. So Rabbi Shimon said, why is your son better? I could die and he can't die? Why are you advocating for your son? So Rabbi Yossi said, no, you misunderstood me. I'm not worried about my son dying from the Romans. I'm worried about my son dying from you. Because Rabbi Shimon seemed to have had a bad temper. That's what it seemed from the story. So Rabbi Yossi said, I'm not worried about my son dying from the Romans. I'm worried about you killing him. Rabbi Shimon said, no. I'm going to be extra special with him. Don't worry. I'm going to be extra careful with him. Sure enough, what happened? He nearly killed him. The whole story here, he nearly killed him because Rabbi Lazar gave a psak din in front of Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon got all upset. And then Rabbi Lazar, at his dying breath, but you promised my dad. He said, all right, I promised your dad. So at the end, they also like, okay. So they're going now, Rabbi Lazar and Shimon bar Yochai are going to the Roman to undo the decree. And here's the kicker. They didn't take a haircut like the Goyim. They kept their long payas. They didn't do like Reb Reuben ben Istra, who decided to take a Goyish haircut in order to save the Jews. No, they would not touch a razor to their payas. So what happened? So they're walking, and in walks in, who else? The Dibik, the demon Ben Timilyon. And the demon Ben Timilyon, I'm not making this up, Gemara. It's the Gemara. The demon Ben Timilyon, it's not even like a message, it's like Gemara. The demon Ben Timilyon says, Rabbi Shimon, I'm here to help out. Rabbi Shimon starts bawling and crying. It becomes very lacrimose. What are you crying about? Well, hug her. When she had a problem, she got a malachim coming. And me, I got to deal with a demon with a shade? Oy! Eich nafla hagibai. Oy! She was crying. So the shade got all insulted and said, listen, do you want me to help you? You want me to help you or not? You want me to help you or not? So she said, okay. So sure enough, the shade precedes them, goes to the Roman castle or whatever, Roman fortress, and possesses the Roman Caesar's daughter. So she's possessed, she's out of her mind, she's losing it. In walks Reb Shimon, and the Caesar says, what do you want? Well, we got some issues with the Jews. Forget the Jews, you got to save my daughter. Reb Shimon says to Ben Tilion, okay, go out. So Ben Tilion said, no, now you want me to help you? You are too, no, that's not what happened. So Ben Tilion says, okay. Sure enough, the Dybbuk leaves, and it says in the windows break. Whenever you watch the Dybbuk movies and they talk about windows breaking, it comes from the Gemara, and the women's right, and the Caesar's like, wow, you saved my daughter! I can't believe it! What can I do for you? What did Shimon say? She wanted to undo the decree. He went into the treasure house, and he didn't take the gold, he didn't take the silver, he ripped up the decree. That's the story of Shimon. But what do you see from here? Shimon Yochai didn't have to come on to any type of artifice of taking a goyish haircut. No. He had principles, and he kept his payas. So that's why when the first time when we give a haircut to a kid, we do it by Reb Shimon, because to reminiscent of this story, he would not take a goyish haircut, but he kept his Jewish identity through his payas, and that is the reason why we have in Meron all the haircuts. Okay, Rabbi Isai, we'll stop here.